about myself, myself, Vignesh, and I have over closely 10 plus years of experience in test automation predominantly. I do work on different flavor of languages and then different tools. In automation, I worked on Selenium, Cypress, Playwright, and Test Cafe. So these are the tools I worked for test automation, and I do have some area of expertise on performance testing and security testing. I'm not a security guy, but I can speak. I can try. I can understand what they are speaking about and what they are talking about. That's the capacity I'm in. That's all about myself. Yep. So this webinar's objective is we'll see what is manual versus automation. Because if you are trying very new to this system, and you should understand how automation will help you to solve the problem. If you are already doing manual, and you can see how automation helps you. And what are the benefits? We'll see what are the benefits for the startups. Hey, I'm having a plan for automation. What are the things I can expect from that? What is the output, and what I can expect that automation if I have a manual team already, or if you're very new to the startup and we are thinking for a QA services, you can get an idea of what is the entire stuff works from manual to automation. And then once you get a good idea that, hey, I'm good with automation, now how can I pick my tool for my product? So that is we are going to touch in. Once you are get into the framework or automation tool, how you can benefit out of CI/CD pipelines, what are the steps involved, and how you can increase level for your CI/CD, where you have to be kickoff, where is your end goal for CI/CD, what is the output you can expect. That's what we are going to see. And final is about you have a question. Hey, I have a manual team. So can I train them and put it into automation? What are the demerits of that? So you can see one person doing both a manual and automation. What could be the output you can expect? What are the drawbacks out of it? If I want to start automation, how can I start? Whether I can have the same person having the both, or I need to have a separate person for automation. So that's all we are going to see in the last part. Yeah. So if you have any questions, feel free to stop me and ask your questions, or post it on the comments. I'm more than happy to answer everything. Yeah. So first part is manual is automation. So what is manual in? If we are planning. If we are planning to start a product. Your developers will start building the product, right? That's where you have your QA roles will start up. People are thinking that, hey, I just started the development. Do I need to be put on the QA at a first point? Is that any requirement? So at that time, we will say that yes, that is absolutely necessary, because let's say you are building a product and you are a founder or you are a product person. You are thinking in your eyes, and then your developers will develop. At that time, the entire QA team is now shifting towards shift left testing, where you are testing. People will start from requirement. Before it was the product will give the requirement to the developers. Developers will build that, and they say that, hey, the build is ready, or this feature is ready. Then at that time, QA will come and test the product. But now we are moving to early stage, and we are in the requirements phase. We are the people's subject matter expert, and we can say that, hey, this is how your customer might require. So you are thinking in this aspect, try to think about in other angle as well. So this might help your users. Let's say you are designing a basic sign-in page for the product. At that time, QA can come and say that, hey, I worked on this other company and they have this kind of logic. Let's say for confirm password, they only put one field. This will have a better, less UX experience, better UX experience, less burden for the customer to sign in. So these are the things I'm giving you very high level. So these are the things QA can come into the requirement phase and tell them, says that, hey, this is how you can think it. Because we already work with multiple different products, and we know how these things works. We connect with customers directly. So we have another insights. You have in one eye, and QA will see it in another eye and give you all the expertise from the requirement phase itself. Let's say in a worst case scenario, you are putting an error message in the screen. Okay, something went wrong. That is the error message because the product team doesn't get the context and get that put a error message. Then the developers come and say that something went wrong on the on the UI if there is an error. So at that time, if your QA starts very late in the stage, all the entire development process done, your QA will come and test the product and then say that, hey, this is not I'm expecting, something went wrong, it's very generic. I want to be specific to the end user to understand, hey, this process, because of this is getting failed. I want some meaningful message on that. So now your entire development cycle is over and your QA will say that this is, I want a change. Then it will start from dev, they need to pick up as a bug or change the request, they do the another round of development process and they deliver it to QA, they will test it. The cycle takes twice. But if you introduce the QA at an early stage, during the requirement process, we can say that, hey, I want this error message like this. So in the initial phase itself, you freeze everything. At least for 80 to 90%, there is a 10% deviation while you are working, you are testing, you get an idea, okay, it can be changes. These kind of things will be coming at later stage, but the core fundamental product or a feature is 70 to 80% ready during the requirement phase. So that's why we ask QA to start early as before the development starts even, so that we can freeze the requirement on the both eyes and then all goods, let's start. So this is what the QA cycle starts in the product development phase. And in the QA, we have both a way, manual and automation. Manual is something like a person who's sitting in your product and then test everything manually. That's our manual testing. And automation testing is something like you are writing a code where the code will automatically run all the checks for you and then give you a result. Say that this is what the output is. Let's say we want to test the login. Your QA will give you a valid password and invalid password and complete it. Now, if you give the automation testing, you are creating a script where it will launch a browser. It will enter the username and password and submit the request and see whether I kicked into the application or not, whether I get into the application, or it will say if there is a wrong password, what is the error message? Is that static? Is that expected error message? If in some cases, what is your API is getting responded back? Is that sending 401 or 500? So these are the valid checks where you can write a code and you have to be execute for the 100 times. So in automation, the return on investment is pretty high from the beginning because your QA people going to write a code and you don't see anything from that. For us, first initial stages, like for 2-4 weeks, you don't see anything out. But once the solid framework is ready, you start writing your automation code. You are writing for one time until your product changes. You can keep executing that and you can get the result out of it. Let's say if your manual QA is checking that login is working, valid and invalid password. They don't even worry about what is the error message, what is the backend API response. So there are multiple checks, you can validate it. But if you do it for one time, your script will take care of the entire stuff. Every single time you're running the script, it will be very precisely make sure it's working as expected. So that's the beauty of automation. That's why the entire people will look from QA, manual to automation very predominantly. Even I see many startups at a very early stage, during the developers building the product, they hire automation people and then just starting the skeleton framework, skeleton code. They start early. Whenever the product is coming to the QA, the automation is half ready and they start executing that. That's the motion happening right now. That's the moment happening right now. So in general, this is what the difference between manual and automation. So you have, as I told earlier, test cycle time is taking very long for manual testing because real person sit and test everything, not up to the mark. They test it at the level. Let's say we are humans. You test the product sign in feature for the day one. You test very effectively in the entire stuff. The second day you only test for positive and negative. The third day you only tested only positive scenario. That's how the human behavior is. Because you have another task or feature is in your plane. You in the plate you cannot consider everything as a regression cycle from the beginning to end. But if an automation, you build a script, it will be running for you forever. Like if you have a solid script, it will work for you. So you can save a lot of time from QA. So your test cycle time will decrease in automation, and it will give you more precise results. It's not like it's not error prone. Whatever you write it in the script, it will validate up to the dot and then give you the exact result to you. And for manual testing, you require, you don't require any programming skills. For automation, the people should be require programming skills. In recent times, people are moving from automation testing to SDET roles. Their roles are getting changed. The reason is the industry started seeing the people as developers. That's why they give the role that SDET, software development engineer, in test, because they need to understand how your programming works, how your Redis works. Everything should be known so that you can run an end-to-end test, which will make sure that your system is stable and working as expected. So the automation testing people will have a very good knowledge on programming, and then they have to understand their developer nuances as well. Let's say if your developer is using Redis, you should understand that what is Redis, what they are putting in, how they are read it back, so that I can create a script to make sure that the Redis responding back, the caching is working as expected, the session is managed as expected. So these are the things the automation tester should understand so that they know that how to test the end-to-end product. Okay. Cost effective. Manual is, let's say you are building a MVP product that is out to the market now. Now you get a very good responses from the customers. At that time, you start building features, right? So at that time, your manual people, let's say you have one manual QA at the early MVP stage, and your product is on the market. You are getting very good responses. Now your product is growing at a very faster phase. So at that time, the same one QA cannot be justified for the role, right? Justified for the testing, right? You have to add the people to the team. But in automation, your initial setup will be very high. You have to hire 2 to 3 automation QAs where they are starting writing frameworks, they are setting up things, they are they are setting up everything, but you don't see anything out. But over the period of time, your automation people will contribute equally, but you have a more stable script. Let's say you are building 200, 300 test cases already. That is running within 5 to 10 minutes, and you are getting results within 15 minutes. Say that, hey, in all that 100, 200 test cases, this is your output. This is your result for that. So in manual, you can see the early is little less, but going forward, your product is growing at a faster phase. You need to invest more on manual. If you have a manual, if you have an automation testing, you have to the team will remain same, but they are delivering more scripts. That your return on investment is little high on the beginning, but later stages it will be coming down compared to your manual testing. You have tested everything. So your cost efficiency is high on initial, but later it will be getting down for automation. The accuracy, as I told earlier, automation have very precise. Even you miss a dot in the error message, it will say, hey, your dot is missing. This is the deviation. So that much of accuracy, you'll get it on the automation testing. But manual, it's little questionable, because I don't say that manual people are not doing their jobs. It's about they have more responsibilities to test. More features are coming out. They concentrate on the newest feature or the next the priority feature to be tested. They can't test everything from login to the previously tested. So your automation will touch everything. So your QA is more of a combination of manual plus automation. That's how you can thrive and make your quality product to your customers. Now, why automation? What is the purpose? People are come and say that, hey, I have 3 QAs or 4 QAs at the beginning, and I'm okay with doing everything on a manual testing. I don't want an automation. What is the benefit of automation? I'll get it up. So people are thinking in that way. So as I told earlier, your product is growing at a faster pace. Definitely you need a gatekeeper, right? Every single time you deliver a feature to your customer, you should ensure that your already existing feature should not be broken. So that is the highest standard you can deliver for the customers. Your existing feature is not broken. Your new feature looks good. It might not be a bulletproof feature, but it's like it's good to have the feature, but your old feature should be in a bulletproof level so that you can deliver a quality product. Your customer is already used to the product, and if you introduce a new bug which is already existing feature, they'll definitely screw you up, or they might be unhappy. So you should make sure that you have a very solid, good gatekeeper for all the existing feature for the product. So how you can say that? I mean, your manual is doing or concentrating on the latest release or the newest feature, who's taking care of the old features, how you can ensure the quality, and how quickly you can test it. Let's say, for example, you have 200, 300 test cases, and it will require 3 to 4 days for manual. Then you are taking 4 days for testing the existing feature. How long it will take the current feature? So you should have a gatekeeper where they should ensure that what is already there, it should be there. It should be working. It's not, there is no broken feature, right? It should be coming, the feedback cycle should be also faster. You are building a new feature. Before the QA starts testing the new feature, the old feature should be working as expected. That's when you push your build to the QA. How you can make the cycle faster? Automation is the solution for you, right? You have to have, let's say, your developers put up a build. Another half an hour, you run all the tests and say that, hey, I found a broken feature which is already exists, which is before work. Now it's not working. You go and fix it. Before the QA starts, you are giving you the feedback, or you are getting the feedback of the product very early. It saves a lot of time for you. It will save the cycle as well. Let's say you put up a broken feature. Your QAs identify that. That's better. You have a lesser cycle. In a worst case, your manual QA might miss that feature because they are over concentrated on the new feature. Your old feature shift to the customer facing the issue. They come back and say that, hey, this is not working, which is already working on yesterday. Today it's not working. That is very terrible in the system, right? So you have to take the entire stuff. You roll back your features. I mean, you roll back your production. Come back, analyze the root cause, fix it, QA test it thoroughly, then go to the deployment. The customer will test it. The entire cycle is taking so much of time. But if you have an automation, you have a better CI/CD systems in place. Whenever the developer puts up a build, immediately you say that, hey, this is broken, this is failed. What is happening? So it will alert you very early in the cycle. So it saves you a lot of time for you. And as I told, if you have a concrete automation solution, nothing is concrete in IT or a software domain, but if you have a better automation solution, you get very less production bugs. You can put an SLA for that. Let's say if I have an automation, if there is a bug is released, why I missed this? How can I improve better? Maybe nowadays people are automating bugs as well. That they call it as a bug automation, where there is a bug, they automate the bug and make sure that the bug is not reproduced. Because that is already introduced, there is a high chance it can be come up in the future as well. Your developer might make a change which will introduce the bug again. So now you have bug automation, and then these are the things will help you out lesser bugs in the production. So you can improve your automation. It's not like you pick up a tool, you develop 100 scripts, and you feel that, yeah, everything is fine. That's not the case. You need to understand. You put an SLA. What is the bug out? Why we missed it? Why we don't automate it? How we can make the cycle better? You improvise the automation cycle so much better and better, and one day you'll get a very nice system where if something is get out of developers code, immediately your automation give you a red signal and say that, hey, this is something broken, right? So that's what I'm saying, your faster feedback cycles. You don't worry about QA, go to the customer, and a worst case, customer come back, developer fix it and QA test it, and then you go back to the production again. That is a very lengthy, right? Your feedback cycles are very quick in automation, and you can get a very precise results as well if you have a solid thing. And as I told early, the initial stage of return on investment in automation is very less because you have so many scripts started writing. You don't run it anything on the production or a testing, but they are doing their work, right? So it will be little high on return on investment, but once your framework is getting stable, you will definitely see the fruit out of it, and then you feel that, oh, okay, this is nice, and things are captured very early. And test insights. This is a little advanced topic. Like let's say you have 500, 600 test cases on a daily basis. You are running on CI/CD. We'll see in later session how CI/CD works, what it is, how you can optimize the process step by step. So you are executing 600, 700 test cases on a daily basis, and then you have a test where you can get an insight says that, hey, this is what is happening for last 10 days. What are the bugs I identified? So is there a bug which is very repeatedly coming, which means specific test cases fail for 2 days back, and then 3 days back, and 10 days back. You have a data of insights. You can extract your results and try to understand what are the broken features which is shifted very frequently, and then you can check what is the change. You can ask the developer, says that, hey, this is coming up very frequently. What is the reason for that? So you can get very good insights from the test. But these are the advanced level, I would say. But initial level, it would be like running more rigorously on automation suite. Make sure that your bug is your app is bug free. That is the expectation from the automation. And later on, over the maturity level of automation, you will get all these test insights and try to understand how your system behaves. Let's say 3 days back, I'm getting so many 500s. Why that is happening? What is the memory consumption? Why this is happening? Is developer introduced any slowness in the APIs? What is the root cause? So these are the insights you'll get over the period of time, but not at a very early stage of automation. So whenever you get more matured framework and automation, these are the side products out there. Okay. So the test coverage, yes, I told earlier, you will touch up more coverage than a manual testing. If you automate everything, you write a code for one time, it will help you for lifelong, at least unless there is no change on the product. Okay. Now people are thinking that, hey, I'm very early to the system. So do I need to start automation very early because my product is it's not in a mature state, it's in evolving state. So at that time, my automation is really needed. That is a very common question. And what I would say is, yes, you should start early, and then you know how your product will change. You have to be connect with your product with the automation, and then say that, hey, these are the touch points where there is a new field or a new button or a new feature, whatever it is may be introduced. Try to prepare for the system. So automation have a thumb rule of okay, this is going to be changed. Then automation team come and say that, hey, you always use a data test ID. Don't put an ID or a class. You put a data test ID. If something is changed, your entire hierarchy is getting changed, but don't change the data test ID. So which means it's the particular selector is particular HTML tag is specially for automation. So if that is not changed, your automation will not affect. So these are the some of your steps where your product is keep on changing. How you make sure you have a very little change on the automation code, which will help you for a longer time. So there are some processes and tweaks you can have in automation where it will help to automate very early, even though your product is changing very frequently. Okay. So, any questions so far? All good, right? Cool. Makes sense. Okay. Now the next question is, hey, I'm convinced. I know what is manual and automation. I'm convinced for automation. Now, how can I pick my tool for automation? So that is the third question from the people, right? There is hundreds of tools in the market. There is Selenium, there are Cypress, Playwright, Test Cafe. There are multiple low-code tools. There are companies who are doing very predominantly on test automation tools. You may hear about Smart Beer. The company is working on Test Complete, which will be, it's a kind of a Selenium tool where it would be used to run your test on mobile, web, desktop automation. So there are plenty of tools in the market. How can I pick my tool for the automation? That is the most important question from co-founders or whoever having their step towards automation. How can I pick the right tool for me? So for this, we have a process, like how you can pick your right automation tool. It starts with your product, because that is the ultimate place to run everything on the automation. So you need to dissect your product in UI interactions. Let's say, what are the UI interactions you have? You have any map related content. Let's say you are on Swiggy or Zomato app. Whenever you place an order, you have a map, right? The map will show you where exactly the delivery partner is. So what are the interactions you have? Is there a map component? You have a text box, you have a drop down, you have a button, you have maybe a form. What are the components UI you have? Take all the components. Try to build a basic fundamental POC on that, and try to understand. Let's say take Selenium. For this use case, I'll take only Selenium versus Playwright or Cypress. Selenium versus Playwright. Take the UI. Take only 3 to 4 test cases. Automate on both the tool. Don't worry about framework, nothing. No, you just start writing. Put up a very base level coding. Try to automate 2 scenarios from Selenium versus Playwright, and then try to identify how long it will take. How feasibility is that? Because in UI interaction, you can see buttons and drop downs, but if you're interacting with the tool, you will have an extra burden. How you can make sure your drop down is getting selected? Is that a select drop down, or it's customized from the developers? How you can automate it? How the both tool supports that? All the UI interactions you can try out and then run a POC. How long it will take to execute? Let's say Selenium takes 1 minute, but Playwright takes 30 seconds. You have so much of time, right? But you can say that there is only 30 seconds. Consider the same scenario. You have 500 test cases, which will take 500 minutes. But if you Playwright, you have 500 test cases, which will take only 250 minutes. Your execution time directly cut off in the half. So you get a better, faster results. How you keep on running the same thing. How flexible it is. How flaky it is. Try to understand these aspects. And then you design. You have a design in mind. Let's say framework design in the sense. Some people will think that I'll create a new user in the API, use the same data in the UI, and then assert it. And end of the test, you are deleting the user through API. So this is a simpler flow, you think. So what are the components you involve? You have an UI automation, you have an API automation, you might some DB interactions during the process. It depends on the product. How you visualize the automation, it completely depends. That's why I told that automation is now considered as SDET roles, which is software development engineer in test, which means you are almost level to you're a developer. You have that much of responsibility. So you have to know how your backend system works. So you might have some DB interactions. Now you can think that which tool give me out of box support for API, for DB, for UI. So these are the things will give you an answer. And then if you have a smoke level test cases, take only the priority test case. Try to automate on both the tool. Then you will get to the answer to that. These are the automation level testing. Now you come back to your development team. Your product is developed on React with Node backend, for an example. It might be from um, Ruby on Rails. Your developers are using Ruby on Rails. They are very well versed in Ruby, right? At that time, if your product is on Angular and Node, I would say that try evaluating the tool very relevant to the JavaScript. Try executing Playwright versus Cypress and try to understand which is better. Because if over the period of time, if you start building automation, your developers can have an IE and say that, hey, this is can be optimized. In future, there are worst case. There are some cases your developer can start writing automation for you. Let's say they are writing unit test cases, right? The similar way you can give them test where, hey, write only the basic smoke level. I'll take care of regression. So you can write all these things. It only possible whenever your developers can understand your code base. Let's say your developers are predominantly on JavaScript and you are building something on Ruby for automation, then that will be a change your dev team of how your Ruby frame. Developers, but no, most of the developers they really helps how your everything will be in the place. Any question? Okay. So think about this in the aspect. If your developers are Ruby on Rails or some like this is even for them, you can extra you can introduce on the PR reviews for your developers. So these are your advantages when you have the same dev stack and your automation stack is on the same level. These are your advantages. And now the third option is there are low code tools in the market. Low code tools are nothing but there are buttons available. You have to have an LLM kind or a basic recording and playback kind of session. It will generate a code for you, but for some places you need to write your own code. That's how your most of the code is auto generated. Your very small piece of code is written by you. That's what we call as a low code tools. So try to learn all those tools. Try to explore all those tools. Try to run a basic POC on that because it's already a low code. You don't worry about I'm putting so much of effort for programming. It's all about record and playback. Now think of your automation strategy. Is that a feasibility for talking to your database? How feasible for API automation? How to retry the test? So there are fundamental rules are there for framework design. So think all the aspects. So yes, that is fit in. Pick up the low code tool. Design frameworks and capabilities. When for designing the framework, it should have when you have in very matured state, you should have a support of developing a framework. It's not like your freshers or a 2 years experience can do it. It's something like you have multiple places you have the design so that you explore all these things, reach out to right people and put up a very solid framework because that is the fundamental. If there is a change in the framework, you missed in along, after you are developing 300, 400 test cases, you come and see that, okay, there is a design flaw in the framework. This is not happening. This is not handled. That's a very weird situation, right? Still, you can fix it, but your framework should be capable enough to adapt those changes. If there is a UI change, how you can reflect on the entire place, how your report can be customized. Let's say you are using a Cucumber report. In future, I want a different report. How feasible your framework can detach this and attach the new report. So these are the multiple questions you have. So try to answer that and then introduce on the framework. So this comes when you have some sort of framework experience. You will have all these thought process. It can be slowly built. It's not like day one you have a solid. No, that's not the case. You have to be built a solid. You will face a challenge, address it. Your framework is more and more matured, and in one point of time, you will have everything in place. Okay. Now, if you the last thing is if you are using open source, this is a specific point. Reach out to the community. Go to the tool. what are the community they have? They have in Slack or they have in um, to go to the community, ask the support, or check how the community is working. That is already this have a better community. To help you. In real script, see connect with your what is hello? Am I audible?
Yeah, yeah. But I think in between there's a break coming up.
Okay. So yep. So this run a POC. So these are the things I'm talking about, and uh, pick up a tool, get the community, implement a POC, put a SLA, and see that what is the execution time, what is the flakiness if we are executing for multiple times, how feasible it's to having a debug steps of screenshots and videos, how it's quickly integrated your pipeline CI/CD. So these are the things we can see it on a POC, and then you can decide what is the tool for you. Yeah, Pratik.
Vignesh, any AI tool help for to automate it?
If we are good on open source, if you're looking for open source tool and you are predominantly on web, Playwright is the market trend now currently happening, because before it was Cypress, but now people are moving to Playwright, which is less weight framework, and Cypress is very heavy, which means you require more power and energy. I mean, you require more RAM and memory for that. So people are moving towards Playwright, and it's very nice, lightweight framework, and it have nice features like Cypress as well. So people are moving to Playwright if you are starting on web, and for mobile, people are using APM. Um, and for desktop, there is so much of limited tools are available. It's less in the market. But I would say Test Complete have a very nice tool for. I mean, Test Complete is a tool for desktop automation.
The Playwright is open source.
Yeah, it's open source. Yeah, it's built by Microsoft.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Now CI/CD. Okay, you have everything in place. You have built a framework. You have a tools. You build test scripts. Now your CI/CD comes into play. Like CI/CD is nothing but continuous integration or continuous deployment. They call it as. There are multiple tools for that. One common use tool is Jenkins. Is your CI/CD. Some people are using nowadays each providers giving their CI/CD. Let's say if you take GitHub, they have a CI/CD for you, CI/CD pipeline. If you take Azure, they have Azure DevOps, which will have in deployment pipelines there. So there are multiple, plenty of tools are there, but try to get what is your product is using, your CI/CD is having. So try to integrate the CI/CD. So how this integration works is, if you have a test script, try to start with a basic integration. Let's say if I want to execute, you need to go to the CI pipeline and you click on build. It will build the code and then give you the result. That is the basic setup. That is the entry level setup you require. So you have to have the setup ready during the POC itself. Start building the test case. Try to run it periodically through the CI/CD. That is your first step. And then if your build is more stable, you are seeing more build in the sense, not the development build. I'm talking about automation. Your automation cases are very stable and able to fail only on actual product defects. That's the case. You can say that your framework is stable. Okay. Now, if that is the case, you can start the nightly builds. Nightly builds are nothing but whenever your work is completed, you have an ideal time for the system, right? Late in the night. So at that time, let's say trigger all the scripts every night 1 o'clock. So that's what we call it as a nightly build. Nightly build is nothing but somehow your system is idle and you can completely take the power of it, and then you can run the entire suite. And whenever you come in the morning, the first thing will be you will see the automation report. So that's what we call it as a nightly build. That is the reason behind the name. It's executing on end of your day and give you the report on the next early day morning, which means that the start of your day. You can see that, oh, okay, these are the bugs which is introduced on the previous day or a previous build. If some flaky test is already there, you need to fix them. Okay, something is flaky, you fix it. You have to have a continuous monitoring on the automation code. That's what we call it as a nightly builds. So your next step is on the nightly build. Now your third step in the CI/CD is, you are in the nightly build, you feel that good. Now take only the smoke test cases or a high priority test cases from your nightly build and integrate same with your developer CI/CD pipeline. Let's say whenever your developer is generating a new build, your pipeline will auto trigger your automation. It execute only the high priority test cases. So at that time, your developer is generating a new build for the QA, or himself, he is writing a code, he want to run a dev testing. So at that time, your CI/CD will trigger and test all the high priority test cases and give the results. So this result will help you how quality your product, your build is. Sorry, how quality your build is. Let's say the developers giving you a build which is having 50% only pass rate. Your build is something wrong. You have so many bugs. Let's say if your build is getting only 90% of the pass rate, so your build is stable and you can see what are the 10% of the failures very quickly. And if there is any product issue or a feature issue, you identify a bug, you can report it very immediately to that developer. Says that, hey, this is broken in your new build, go and fix it out. When there is a fix coming in, the same test case will be running. It will give you the result. Okay, these are the things fixed. Now the build is good. You are good to go with the QA testing for the build. So that's how your third step is. So once your nightly build is running, it's keep on running on every night, and you put up a priority test cases, and then you have to be integrate with your developer pipeline. Whenever there is a new build on the developer, it will auto execute all the test cases and then give you the result. This is what the highest level of CI/CD. If you achieve this level, you will have a solid automation code and automation pipelines. Okay, so this is what your CI/CD helps you in the releasing the quality cycle. And you did all these things, but your nightly builds are not very stable, and your nightly builds give you only 50% of the pass rate. You have to be immediately stop your script development. You have to be jump into the script maintenance mode and fix all the test cases, and then go up to 80 to 90%. In general, people are considered that 80 to 90% of the pass rate is something like a stable build for automation. I mean, automation code is very stable, because the 10% can be come up because of your environments, because you are having high load on the environment. Sometimes your backends throwing 500, your front end taking so long time to load, but you have specific wait time. So at that time, these are the things will be coming up. So put a SLA, match the SLA, and then generate and keep on monitoring. You have a two life cycle. One is script development and one is script maintenance. If you have a solid rules for your maintenance, development, your maintenance time will be reduced. But over the period of time, you have to be understand the nightly builds, rerun it, check it, fix it, and then the flow keeps on going. That's how your CI/CD works. Okay, now the last part of the topic is what is my manual versus automation. Sorry, the same person doing manual and automation, how that works. So in real-time opinion, if you have a dedicated person who's sitting for automation is always good, that is 100% recommended. But in some cases, your features are shipping little time. You have a manual resource who is capable enough to automate, and they can have some free time, and that free time they can do the automation. So the same, both person can handle same is always chaos in my opinion, because the context switching is tough. Let's say in the morning, your developer giving a build, you are in the mode of manual testing, and then you test everything, and then come back in the evening, and then you start writing an automation code. Tomorrow morning, you test another build, you put it in the half of the automation code. The next day, you come and see whatever you already written, you have to go back, go through it, everything, and then start building. It will take some time. So the context switching between your manual and automation is little tough. Even though you have the same people, you get a reduced effort from them. In some time, they might little frustrated on automation and they are concentrating on the manual. Some sprints they have only manual, more manual test cases coming in, more features coming in. Your automation will be on hold. But if that is happening for 3 to 4 sprints, you have a heavy automation backlog at the time. It's like it's a chaos. That's what I mean to say. So if you have a same person for doing the same, it's not highly recommended. If that is there is a context switch issue is there. In some time they are doing manual and they get into a situation that try to complete all the automation cases quickly. Your code quality will be compromised. It will not be see it in very early stages. Let's say you are building 500,000 test cases. In that state, if you get a very poor quality, always you are getting only 50% of the pass rate. So you will have put so much of effort for maintaining the scripts. So that is another problem when you have a code quality while you build automation suites. So that is also can be introduced and can be inefficiencies in analyzing the nightly builds. Let's say you already have a manual work, you already have automation test cases to be covered. At that time, you have to be put it on automation maintenance mode. I mean, some cases are failing. Why it's failing? You debug that. You go back and do a manual test. You come back and then write automation script. That is very chaotic and it's very inefficient for doing the same person. But if you have a dedicated resource for automation, they are keep on building your test cases. They can ensure the quality, because that is the only thing they are doing. They always running, uh, make the framework better and better and make more mature. These are the things can happen independently and growing in a good scale. But if same people doing multiple things, always there can be inefficiencies that can be hurt very long time. You cannot see the results very immediately, but in a long time you will see that okay, this is something wrong.